I'm tired of double standards. I'm tired of cancel culture, and I'm tired of this elite mob of people. I'm black. I love my community, but I love everybody. It's just not about blacks. It's not about Hispanics. It's not about Asians. I treat all of my friends equal. I don't want to live in a world where blacks, Jews, gays, transgender are untouchable. Just because you're in that minority group or whatever you want to call it, that doesn't give you a right to have immunity. You know, you have to be
held accountable for your actions. I don't care what you are. You can't be a shitty person and hide behind whatever identity.
And that's what's happening right now. People pull their, no pun intended, their trump card.
This is Sparta!
Welcome back, everybody, to Spartan Leadership. I'm your host, Josh Kosnick, and today we got another Leadership in Review. Got my guy, Emmanuel Whitfield, with me. We got cigars in hand. We got the heater going because it is frigid outside, and the podcast studio is not so warm, but that heater's doing us some good today. And hopefully I'll make it through this because I don't have a bourbon on hand or on my water. So we're just going to power through. But if this is your first time joining us, Leadership in Review is something we do once a month. Typically, we're talking about the lack of leadership in D.C. Sometimes we'll hit some corporate topics or non-political topics. But today, since there hasn't been a major election and there hasn't been a major news cycle story. We're going to hit on double standards and cancel culture. But we always start off these episodes with talking about what we're smoking on, because my vision for this podcast all came to fruition in a cigar bar. So to carry on that tradition and why we can talk about contentious topics over a cigar and still come out friends, we carried that tradition back into the podcast studio because that's what happens in cigar lounges across the country. So today I got in hand a Casa Fuente cigar, and I gave my friend Emmanuel.
It's an LFD?
Yeah, La Flor Dominica. Hey, show him the football.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Yeah, for those of you watching on YouTube, you can see the football inlaced into that wrap. It's pretty cool. Pretty special cigar. We're in playoff season, baby.
Yeah, it's time.
It's time.
It's time for some football.
So we won't talk about, well, we may get into football today. Who knows?
A little bit, maybe. Who knows?
But all right, so we want to talk about the double standards of the law. The story of the past couple weeks has been finding Joe Biden's classified documents in his garage.
Unsecure.
Next to his Corvette.
But it was a locked garage. So, Emmanuel, what do you got on this? I'm just looking at the double standards. I just want to live in a world where it's just fair and balanced. I look at it from a historical point. I've seen from old footage and just from history itself, from Jim Crow days, how even going back to like Emmett Till and stuff like that, you have a all-white jury knowing that these people are guilty, and just because of their, not political thoughts, just from their racist biasness and stuff like that, they can see this jury knowing they're guilty, but they can say not guilty at the end of the day. And you see that happening now, which I think is so dangerous, and a lot of people don't realize how biased they are. But bias is just a different form of racism. It's just in a different package now. It used to be a black and white thing. Now it's a Republican thing or Democratic thing. And I just think it's dangerous that if anyone can think like that, they need to pause for a minute and look in the mirror and ask yourself, what type of human am I to look at a same situation but could convict someone just because of their political beliefs? You know, as much of a Donald Trump fan as I am, I love Donald Trump. But if he breaks the law, you know, I go by the rules. I don't care if that's my favorite president of all time. If he took the fucking, oops, I didn't mean to say it like that, but if he took classified document, and if that's a crime, as a Republican or as a Donald Trump lover, he should have obeyed the law, you know? But you get people nowadays that'll say, well, it's okay for Joe Biden to do it, but it's not okay for Donald Trump. If both of them broke the law, both of them need to be disqualified. I don't care how much you love a person. It's just the law. And you just see everybody trying to convict people because of what side of the political field they're on. And I just think we're heading down a bad, rocky road looking at stuff like that.
Yeah, you're talking identity politics, and we talked about that previously on the shows. And it's a real dangerous spot to be. I mean, just like we talked about in the Wisconsin election with Mandela Barnes. Seems like a good dude, but he didn't pay his taxes.
Right.
Right, so you're above the law. And we got a bunch of people in D.C. that think they're above the law.
Yeah.
And we got lawyers and the FBI and the CIA and all these guys allegedly in cahoots to keep their side above the law.
Yeah, that is facts. That's facts.
And then we accept that as citizens, as voters.
Yeah.
Because it's our guy or their guy.
Exactly. It's like, I don't know, it's just so hard for people to digest and look at things for what they are. Facts are facts at the end of the day. It goes back to the shootings in what was that, Kenosha, Rittenhouse, you know. If you look at the facts, he's not guilty. But the way people look at it, just because they look at him like he's a Trump supporter, and that it taints any jury. You get a jury in D.C., just look at it right now. Everyone that was brought on trial that was on the government side or the Democratic side got acquitted. But anyone that they arrested for Trump, same facts, same type of crime, they all got convicted. That's scary. And you look at history repeating itself. You see people that despise the FBI and the CIA and the deep state. Now you look at these same people, they ask for more of that intrusion. They support the deep state because the deep state is totally against Trump and the deep state is on their side. You know, how dare anyone look at history and say how Hoover targeted Malcolm X, how basically the government assassinated Martin Luther King, which was horrible.
Well, it just came out that the CIA played a role in assassinating JFK, and no one cared.
No, they don't care. They don't care because there's...
Well, partly, I think, because most of us knew that. Yeah. But the fact that it became knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Like widespread, the major news media barely covered it.
Tucker's about the only one that's covering it. And they still, you know, it's just America's dirty little secrets. There's still documents that they could declassify and unredact, but they still hold on. They don't want you to know the truth because they don't want you to know the dirty little secrets of America. And for us to even name a building after Hoover, he was one of the worst people ever. And we named that, you know, the FBI building is named after him, you know, but to see the left cheerlead.
Why don't we tear that down?
Yeah. That should have been the first one to go. Yeah, but to see the left, like, you know, cheerlead for the deep state is just crazy to me.
Hold on, to be clear, I am not advocating that we tear down the FBI building. I'm just saying, if you were going to tear down something, statue or otherwise, that's racist or controversial, Hoover would be one of them.
Yeah, one of the worst. And you know, you see that double standard. Now you see people cheerleading for stuff like that. You know, you don't stand a chance. It's just scary to not stand a chance in a trial because of what you represent, just because you think different than someone else, just because you may be a Democrat or maybe a Republican. It's the same way that a lot of black men used to go before juries of people that are not their peers in the Deep South and stuff like that. You didn't stand a chance. And then it breaks my heart to see blacks and stuff, or anybody, any minority group, turn around and practice the same principle. You know, cancel culture. I don't care if they're not guilty. You know, people hate Trump so much that they wouldn't care if it wasn't even a crime committed. They still want to see him canceled.
They want to see him burn.
Yep.
Yeah, well, so on this double standard piece, on the facts of the matter that we have right now, it's interesting you brought up Rittenhouse, right? It's media driven. So with Biden right now, the media has got his back.
They're making up every excuse
possible. He was, so again, to be clear, so those that don't know, a vice president does not have the authority to declassify documents.
Anything. They can't even take them.
They cannot take them. That's why, you know, Hillary having so many classified things on her stuff was a big deal as well on her laptop and otherwise. But vice presidents cannot do that. Presidents can. And so there is a difference in the Trump versus Biden scenario. But I want to go back to the media piece because the media controls your thoughts, your narratives. And that's how we got here with the Trump thing and so many people hating him. The media was on that. That was a purposeful, malicious campaign. And again, to repeat myself, or if you're a first-time listener, I am not a huge Trump fan. My guy E over here is. But I just think there's a lot more he could have done with his leadership.
Yeah, that's facts.
And so, but I want to call fair and fair. Like, I try and be fair and balanced as much as possible. But to clarify that, the media is completely driving the narrative on all of these instances. And most people, because we're in a attention span, a limited attention span society as it is, because we have all of these different inputs coming at us at a different time or every time of day. You're biting headlines and not actually thinking for yourself as to whether or not this could be true. All of a sudden, now they got control over Biden. Then he gets asked direct questions, and he's like, "Well, they're in a locked garage."
Yeah.
But why did you have them? I didn't know they were there.
Yeah.
Well, so there's like so much more, and he's asked these direct questions that he's not giving great answers to, but yet the media is giving answers for him because he can't answer for himself.
Yeah. I look at it like, when you become part of this cult, this political cult, you stop thinking for yourself, and it's just common sense. If you take Donald Trump and if you put Barack Obama name to him, and if people who love the Democratic Party, and millions of people love Barack Obama.
Hey, real quick, Obama would look funny with some orange combed over hair.
But no, if you took that scenario and put the names different, if you ever heard the FBI and the CIA agents, McCabe and all of these guys, sitting back and you found a transcript of them saying, "I will never let Obama become president. There's no way we'll stop him. Trump should win 1,000,000-1." If the roles were reversed, you know how many Democrats would be upset and outraged over that? But you just changed the names and changed the color of these guys, and it's a whole different acceptability. They all accept it now because it's heading toward Trump. And another thing, the way people investigate is totally opposite of what the Department of Justice is doing now. In any raid or any investigation, could you imagine a task force or a DEA agent or a drug force knock on the door of a drug dealer and say, "Go get your lawyer, tell your lawyer to get all the stuff and bring it to us"? They'd flush it right away.
Is that what happened to you when you were arrested?
Never. They come in and guns are bearing. But they told Joe Biden, lawyers, to find the stuff and bring it to him. They told Hillary.
Hold on, is that what happened to Trump?
No, not at all.
What happened to Trump?
He got raided. And that's how it usually goes when they're going to try to confiscate evidence, But this is the first time I've ever seen where they tell the person that committed the crime, "Bring us the evidence. We're not going to investigate." That's a double standard. Yeah. And another thing they did, a lot of people don't understand how they pull the wool over your eyes. Now, with Hillary, they told Hillary she had so many damaging documents. So they say she got rid of like 30,000 documents. That's a crime right there. That's a major crime right there. They let her get away with that. But this is how they pull the wool over your eyes. She had all of these BlackBerries and computers, right? They say she smashed up the BlackBerries. We know as well as anyone, that was just to cover up to make people get outraged and say, well, they let her crash up. They told Hillary just like this: it's going to look bad, but we're going to say you smashed up your BlackBerries because we know we can go get all the evidence anyway. You could throw it in a lake. You could flush it down the toilet. But you can go right to the...
it's in the cloud.
It's in the cloud. But they pull the wool over your eyes to make the public think she got rid of it by smashing the BlackBerries. So that was the way of getting around that. You're going to look bad, say you smashed the BlackBerries, and we won't go to the cloud and look. All I had to do was look in the cloud. All of that damaging evidence was right there, and they let her get away with it, And if Trump would have did it, I would be the same way, outraged at him, you know. So it's just that double standard, and it's just, we're heading down the wrong path. I'm tired of double standards. I'm tired of cancel culture and I'm tired of this elite mob of people. I'm black. I love my community, but I love everybody. It's just not about blacks. It's not about Hispanics. It's not about Asians. I treat all of my friends equal. I don't want to live in a world where blacks, Jews, gays, transgender are untouchable. Just because you're in that minority group or whatever you want to call it, that doesn't give you a right to have immunity. You know, you have to be
held accountable
for your actions. I don't care what you are.
You can't be a shitty person and hide behind whatever identity.
And that's what's happening right now. People pull their, no pun intended, their Trump card.
Yeah.
You know?
So the double standard side, I want to make sure that we close the loop on that before we move on to cancel culture. I think that the point to be made here is and if we want to see anything fixed politically, anything, Democrats have to hold Democrats responsible and accountable. Republicans have to hold Republicans responsible and accountable.
Humans have to hold humans accountable.
That's the point.
Yeah.
But you're right, because we're all human. My point is that some people are so entrenched in this identity politic. From my standing, is bullshit. Like you are fooled into thinking that one side has all the right ideas, one side has all the right intentions, and then the other side is just evil. Mm-hmm. No, they put those ideas in your head, and you're falling for it hook, line, and sinker. Or you're saying, oh, this one is the lesser of two evils. You're being fooled. Stop it. Look at the people that you're putting in office and electing. Don't just vote because they have a D behind their name or R behind the name. Otherwise, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So until that happens, we're still going to be caught in this bullshit. Like the identity politics is the problem right now with America as far as political concerns go.
Yeah, the media is behind a lot of this. When you can brainwash people to lose their moral compass and their compassion for mankind, and you can sleep good at night. You know, that's becoming it's just crazy to me when you can I look at the Central Park 5, which was horrible, you know, but there were certain people on different political sides back then. Oh, they deserve it, you know, losing their humanity and their moral compass. And then
remind everyone what happened there, because that's been a while.
The Central Park 5 was when those guys were accused of rape, and the DAs and the police kind of forced these guys to confess, in which DNA pretty much cleared them at the end, and they weren't guilty. And you see it now, though. It's just on the reverse side. Walking into that Capitol January 6th, I could see if you damaged a bunch of stuff, if you hurt someone. But some of these people are still in jail. And I think the scariest part about it all is the human rights groups have become politicized. The ACLU don't care about these people rotting in jail for pretty much misdemeanor crimes, and they're being charged with felonies and being locked up without any bail. You would think these people would have killed someone, but then they turn around and then these inner.
No, hold on. A lot of people believe they did kill someone.
Exactly.
Which is stupid.
The media made people believe that.
Yeah,
the only
absolutely.
person that got killed was one of the protesters.
Right. But then, or someone, I think a police officer died of a heart attack like 2 months later or something. It had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
But the point is that there's a lot of people, again, identity Democrats, that believe that news cycle that someone was killed there.
Yeah. But the media can make you believe anything.
But that's the point that we're getting at today, right? Is like, look, you gotta look beyond these media. Like, because here's the deal: the media, our government agencies, and Hollywood are in bed together to get us to believe whatever they want us to believe.
It's about control.
It's control, 100%.
About control.
And who is easier to control, a divided people or a together people?
Oh, the divided is easy.
Divide and conquer. Yeah. There's a reason that is an all-time war paradox.
That's what they do. They divide and conquer, and you see it going. I mean, it's deep. I see how they have divided the black community by paying these elite blacks, the politicians and the athletes, and they're Hollywood. There to keep them on that plantation mentally. I look at Sheila Jackson and stuff like she's asking for more deep state powers, and you go look at her district where she comes from, it's just going downhill. She don't want to.
Where's she at again?
She's in like Oakland or somewhere like that. In her district, look at all of the Black Caucus, the whole Black Caucus. Everywhere you go where they run something, it's ran down. The reading scores are getting worse. But they do that intentionally because they don't want to teach their people how to fish. They don't want to get their people off of welfare. They don't want to get them off the plantation. Then they're obsolete. Their job is done. You know, they won't be needed anymore. So they want to keep you down, you know? And that's just how it goes. You get LeBron James and all of these powerful athletes, they don't want black on black crime to stop because their narrative and their story will stop. You know, then you get a Kyrie Irving who try to wake these guys up, or a Kanye West who try to wake the black community up, or Candace Owens who try to wake the black community up. I got talked.
They vilify him.
They ran me out of the barbershop when I was at the barbershop. They laugh at me, oh, he a Trump fan. And you know, there's always a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. You know, I warned all the black community about Joe Biden. Donald Trump was doing so much for the black community. He's still the only president till today that ever did something about prison reform. You know, all of these virtual signals coming from the Democrats. Look at Joe Biden. I'll make it look good on paper because this flock of sheep, I could just tell them anything. Yeah, I'm going to do this on this marijuana bill. Then you look at the bill, it wouldn't have affected no one. That bill wouldn't have helped not one black person out. And they're trying to come out with all of these different little prison reform things. They're not going to do anything about it. But all of these people are here to keep you down.
Well, hold on. It was going to help a few thousand. So let's give credit where credit's due.
It was going to help. That marijuana bill would have only helped 600 people.
All right, 600. So either way, 600 something. Let's not discredit that. But the problem with the marijuana bill is because the bulk of the people that it would help are in state institutions.
They didn't do it for the state.
And they didn't do it for the states. The state has to do it. They have to do it for the feds. Yeah. So again, that was more smoke and mirrors. Yeah. But I always will give credit where credit's due. If you can help one person, you should. However, don't make it a big deal. Like that
was the pull the wool over your eyes and make it feel like I'm really helping. If I have to go look back at that, I think it was only 6 people that would have qualified for that deal.
It was several hundred or several thousand. It wasn't a huge number because like the overall number of people.
They don't even lock people up in that bill doesn't even affect federal felons, you know. And so basically it was just virtual signaling.
It's virtue signaling for sure. And like the media made it sound like it was a big win because this office right now, the presidential office right now is so desperate for wins because they haven't done shit that they're making it look like it's a big deal. But however, like again, credit where credit's due. If you help a few people,
you help one person, that's good.
Good. The bulk of it is you have hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of prisoners for petty pot crimes.
That's what makes it bad, though. If you can help 600 people,
like if we're gonna do it, let's do it.
It shows backdoor racism to say, well, I'll virtual signal to help out 600 people when I can go help out 600,000 people, the real act that I need to be doing, but I don't want to do that because that's prison labor and all of this other stuff. So it's a tangled web that they weave, and they do a really good job at it, you know, and it's just crazy right now. It's really crazy.
Hey, before we get into cancel culture, actually one of the bigger things in the news cycle that we didn't think about today is the Omnibus Bill. And I don't know that most people understand how big of a number $1 trillion is.
I got it in my bank account, so I could kind of explain it to you, but I don't have time.
You could explain it, man. I was going to offer you some free eggs today, man. But you got $1 trillion bucks in you. See, I become an egg dealer out here, right? Because eggs have jumped up to $20 for a dozen.
God, yeah.
I got chickens producing eggs on a daily. I'll get you some free eggs.
You'll be a
billionaire. Even if you got $1 trillion in your bank account.
You're going to be a trillionaire soon. You're gonna be
man.
Egg tycoon.
On the real, everyone should have some chickens. You know why it stops them? Because city limits won't let them. You know, so you got Madison, liberal as they come. Yeah. They don't want you to have any chickens in your backyard because you got neighborhood and city regulations. Yeah. And you know how liberals love their regulations. Yeah. Control. Well, y'all can't have chickens. I can. Yeah. Because I'm not part of that city regulation. So I got a farm. We can have some chickens.
You're going to get some free eggs. One more thing, man. You know, the beauty of life is you can run, but the truth will always prevail. The truth will come out one day. You know, you can.
But I agree to an extent. But think about how much of history's been wrong.
Yeah.
Because the victors or those in control tell us what history is. Like it's this is the first time in my life. You know, you think about 9/11, you think about some of the bigger events that you and I have been alive for. This is the first time that I'm like seeing them purposely do things for the history books.
Yeah.
That you're just like, huh? But they're doing it for the history books, not for us today, but for like 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years from now.
Yeah.
To look at like that Biden speech with that cryptic red shining light, like looked like he was Hitler. Yeah. That speech. Yeah. That was for the history books. Yeah. I mean, it was all bullshit. The January 6th, why those people are still in jail, because they're trying to continue to make it a bigger thing than it actually was. Yeah. It's for the history books. So we're like experiencing what people in control do to our history books in real time. Yeah. Which is kind of crazy. But so will the truth prevail? Because I guess in some senses, you get results. We've seen the truth prevail, and we've seen what happens over time to say, like for instance, the CIA thing that we just talked about. The CIA actually was a part of killing JFK, a sitting effing president. Yeah. Who was actually trying to unite the country, who was actually trying to tell about the swamp. Yeah. And they offed him for it.
The thing with me is I like it because you can lie all you want, but when I say the truth will prevail is because you're going to get a result either from the truth or from lies. You know, you listen to all of these lies and you wait for that to manifest, but at the end, the truth will prevail because you look at all of the people that I warned about the Democratic Party, you know, all of this inner city stuff, and they bought that lie. But at the end of the day, that result is going to get these high-priced eggs, these high gas prices, crime rising, school scores going down because you drank that Kool-Aid instead of following the truth. So at the end, at the end, the truth prevailed because you have to experience. Sometimes the building's got to burn all the way down before you rebuild. Now, this is out to my buddies JP and all of them at the barbershop where you thought I was crazy when I warned all you guys about voting for Joe Biden. And if that's what floats your boat, that's what floats your boat. You should be happy with the president you got. I was happy with Donald Trump, and I'm not happy with Joe Biden. So I don't want to hear anybody.
But if you love Joe Biden, you got to love these prices too.
Yeah, you should love it. I don't want to hear anybody complaining about food, gas, wars, crime rising. That's what you wanted. So at the end of the day, I'm kind of snickering and like, I warned you. I told you so. You know, all of this money going to Ukraine, but you can't do anything about homelessness in America. Kids are not eating right now. But we're sending all this money to a foreign country that we boosted into getting slaughtered because America knew we didn't stand a chance over there.
Hey, weren't they talking about putting a statue or some bust of Zelensky in our capital?
Yeah, that's crazy.
The fuck would we do that for?
They don't even know his history. He's a Nazi for one. You know, he's
an actor. He played a president on a
but that's a whole other can of worms.
And we put him in power, which is another thing, and that's a whole other can of worms we won't get into today. Mm-hmm. And by the way, that has nothing to do whether we think Russia is right, Ukraine is right. We're just talking about Zelensky and the political games that the U.S., our political people, are playing over there. None of us know enough about who's right, who's wrong, and what's actually going on over there because our media doesn't allow us to see it.
It's almost like the Iraq War. You never get a legitimate story of what's going on, and I just go by actions. I look at Russia really could have took out Ukraine in 3 weeks, but they're holding back for some reason. It just seemed like Putin's not as bad as people think he is, and that's just my opinion. So you can call me a Russian sympathizer all you want. I'm a humanitarian sympathizer. I believe in right and wrong, and I don't care where it's from and where it comes from. I don't care what you are. I don't care what you look like. It's just about being right and wrong at the end of the day, not biased.
Yep, we'll cover that topic a different time. But the last thing I'll say on it is that there's something fishy when Putin in his speeches is calling for truce the whole time. Mm-hmm. And yet the other side hasn't sat down for it. So we'll leave it at that. All right. Cancel culture was the other topic. Mm-hmm. This is one he was real passionate about. He touched on it a little bit in our previous topic. Mm-hmm. But cancel culture as a whole, we hear that as a buzzword. What's it mean to you? Buzzwords, I should say.
I look at cancel culture as oppression. I look at cancel culture as blind racism. I look at cancel culture as lack of choice. I look at cancel culture as my way or the highway. Either believe in what I want you to believe in, which is so racist. I have really close friends where I would be at their house and I wasn't the prototype house Negro that they wanted me to be, and I'm a free thinker, and it's how dare you like Trump. I can explain what I like. Tell me what you like, and tell me if that's bettering anyone, you know. I look at a couple of my friends where their wives would run in the room that used to love me just because I think different, just because I don't like open borders, but they see it as Trump, the figure. They don't see it as...
By the way, you ever seen a Republican do that to a Democrat?
No.
Neither have I.
No. But, you know, to be fair and balanced, the Democrats started cancel culture, which is what goes around comes around. So I really don't feel sorry for a lot of Republicans who are receiving the back end of it, because I feel the Republicans started it with unpatriotic when you didn't go with the Iraqi war, which was terrible. Tucker Carlson, which is my favorite on TV, he was one of the main pushers of you're unpatriotic. It broke my heart. See, that's how fair I am. I hated the Iraq war. I hated when they canceled the Dixie Chicks for standing up for what's right. You know, I didn't like people saying Obama wasn't born here.
It was the same play they pulled in Vietnam.
Yeah. So it's
the Vietnam War.
It's just it's a revolving door. It's just on the Democrat, and it's coming right back around now. You know, the predator becomes the prey becomes the predator. Fox News used to be horrible.
No, I'm saying, so you're all right on that. I'm saying, have you ever seen in your personal life a Republican friend, like, not allow a Democrat in their house?
Republicans disagree. Democrats disown. They will disown you if they don't like what a Republican. They could care less. They believe in what they believe in.
They may say you're dumb.
Yeah. But they won't. You could come over to their house. Democrats disown you. Lose my number. This is a funny story. This chick I was talking to once, she was really liking me. I told her I like Donald Trump. This is factual. Click. Never heard from her again. Never heard from her again. That's how deep it is. You know,
that's how deep the identity politics is.
Yeah, and it's that bad right now. But the whole cancel culture, and a lot of people on the left can't see the hypocrisy. You know, they try to. I look at some of these podcasters, and they just can't be fair and balanced like us. They have to. Even if you make a good point, they'll say, "Yeah, you're right," but Donald Trump. You know, I look at The Hill. It's this black chick on The Hill. She's kind of good, but I'm not a left winger, but it's always about the left and Bernie Sanders and trying to boost him up. Bernie Sanders is just another politician. I used to like Bernie Sanders, but he plays ball.
Yeah. I agree. I have a good friend that I argue because he's staunch liberal. He claims he's not, but every point he's make, much like you said about Hill, like always on the liberal side. So I'm like, until you vote for a Republican or a Libertarian, you're a liberal. So anyhow, he used to love, or maybe still does love Bernie as well. But I just pointed out, I was like, why did Bernie go along with the Hillary thing?
Because he's a politician.
Okay, so why did, there's a couple instances, I can't remember the most recent one, where Bernie supported something
he
that was
supported
against
the Ukraine war.
There you go. Yeah.
He's a swamp guy.
I said, when's the last time, if he's so independent, when's the last time he voted on the other side of the aisle? He couldn't name an instance.
I think he's worse. He's worse than the ships, and he's worse than all the Democrats to me, because he comes off as he's independent thinker, libertarian, and he stands up for what's right. But when people like that, are part of the swamp, that's the worst.
Well, and he's been there for 40 plus years.
Yeah.
He's fooled a lot of people by saying he's independent. He's not independent.
No.
Like, again, independent would vote both sides of the aisles. Mm-hmm. That's what independent is. Like we talked about before, like Joe Manchin, who's a staunch liberal.
Yeah.
He's voted no on a couple bills.
He's been a hero a couple times.
Right.
He saved.
That's a real one right there. Yeah. And so, like, I'll root for people like that, and I'll root for Republicans that do the same. I prefer, like, I stand more libertarian than anything.
Yeah.
But again, you got to be able to vote. So again, not any one party has all the best ideas.
No.
Like our country is built on checks and balances. And right now we are so far away from that, that we got to get all these career politicians, these crypt keepers, these old ass.
But that's when the two, first of all, when you start liking either party, you liking two gangs. That's exactly, you're joining up for two gangs, you know. And then you notice the ones that are really fighting for the Americans are the ones that both parties come at. Matt Gaetz. People hate him. They had to get rid of Kerry Lake. These are swamp cleaners. These are the only ones, like McConnell, McCarthy, Johnson, all of these guys, they talk a good talk. You know, why do you think Gates and them didn't want McCarthy?
They're actors. They
didn't want McCarthy to be the speaker because if you look at his record, if you look what they've involved themselves in, he got off of that January 6th committee. He did it on purpose. He wanted it lopsided. He wanted Trump out of there. He could have stayed on that January 6th committee, but you know what happens if he stays on that committee? He's got to fight. The Republican Party's looking at him like, so what are you going to do about it? Now you got to do counter stuff and you got to bring out certain documents that he's still part of the swamp. He's still part of the gang, you know, so.
Yeah, Donald McCarthy is part of the swamp. Yeah. 100%. That's why it took 15 votes or whatever it took.
He's a swamp.
Can you imagine sitting there that long as a congressperson and they literally go through, I don't know if any of you guys watch this, but they literally go through name by name. Mm-hmm. And they say who they're voting for. Mm-hmm. And they did that 15 times.
Republican voters,
like days, not just hours.
Republican voters really need to screen who they're voting in the office because the Republican Party, I despise both parties. They're just as slick as the Democratic Party, and they need this feud to blind the public because if you look at all of those impeachments, this Russia stuff. See, the Democrats, they're fighting for Joe Biden. They don't want certain documents to come out. They don't want to do these kangaroo courts.
They knew about the classified documents in his garage before the election.
Yeah.
And this is how you know the media and Hollywood and everyone's playing ball in cahoots. That was not released until when? 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
2 weeks ago?
About 2 weeks ago.
Okay, 2 months too late after the election.
Yeah.
But they knew about it before the election. Okay? So, like, you know certain things are being kept from us.
Yeah.
And then you got to ask why. You got to ask why.
And I don't even look at it like it's being kept from... Yeah, you're right, it was being kept from us. But if you really look at how complex and how good they play this game, Republicans and Democrats, you see, those guys are probably smoking cigars, making their next move. And if you notice the ones that they really go after, you look at Gates, even like Jim Jordan, they talk this talk. This Gates and Rand Paul, they're about to own, and it's a couple females.
There's some new ones up there now.
Yeah, it's a couple females that really, but they really had to get rid of Kerry Lake. And just think about this: if you're making millions of dollars from inside trading and all of this other stuff, and you got Gates over here saying there should be term limits and you should not be able to have anything to do with the stock market if you're in politics. You hate this guy if you're one of these guys that's trying to get rich. And then most of the Republicans, look at who donates to these guys. You know, you're not going to donate. You're not going to finance a campaign if they're going to come and try to cut you off, you know. So all of these guys are making money, and then you got these three people over here saying this is wrong. So they're trying to get rid of these. When they sat on that impeachment thing with Trump, the Republicans should have never even participated in that impeachment because they knew it was a lie. You know, they're saying he did this with Russia.
Well, the problem is that you have Republicans that wanted him out because they're part of the swamp.
That's exactly what happened. Right. And a lot of people don't notice that, you know.
So what you have to pay attention to, everyone, is what he mentioned a couple, Gates and Rand Paul, is pay attention to them. And it's like what I'm hoping for is leadership there from those 20 that were holdouts on McCarthy. Mm-hmm. Those 20 that are holdouts on McCarthy are probably what's saving this country right now.
Exactly.
Actually, probably not. I shouldn't use probably. They are.
They are.
Currently holding us up right now as far as propping us up as a country. Otherwise, we'd be completely off the cliff.
You know what they
And there might be some on the Democrat side. I don't know.
No, the Democrats don't have anyone.
But hold on. But like those 20, like what I'm hoping for after those 15 votes is that they got such a negotiation out of McCarthy that he has to do some certain things that actually lead us back to where, like, that's the only way, because that's the only way those guys would have succumbed to actually voting for that guy.
You know,
because he's a swamp creature.
You know what he was against? He did not want them to be able to find any of the files or any of the footage from January 6th. He wanted to block that for some reason, and he wanted to limit the span of investigating Joe Biden. This is a Republican saying, I don't really want to investigate Joe Biden. That's his buddy, you know. And if you think about it, if you're a McCarthy and you've gotten rich off of politics, you damn right you want to keep Joe Biden in there, a swamp guy, and it's going to keep the flow of stuff going on with China. You don't want Trump to come back. That's the last thing you want to do.
Well, I think it's good for people to understand as well how these deals, how do people get rich on politics. Mm-hmm. First is insider trading and knowing what's going down when and how that's going to affect certain companies.
We'd all love that convenience.
I've been in the financial game for 18 years. I would, there's harsh penalties for me as an advisor or a leader of advisors if we know anything and we get busted out. Mm-hmm. With that being said, you have other deals. Like I can't remember the name of the guy that's retiring as a congressman, and his name's all over the Omnibus Bill. Mm-hmm. And he's getting all these special projects funded, and his name's on all of them. All these special projects. So here's how that works. Let's say he's going to have a small bridge in his state built for him. And I'm going to use, just simple numbers because A, I don't know what a bridge costs. and B, I want to keep it simple for all of you listening. So he goes to a contractor friend of his and he says, we're going to do this bridge. It's going to have my name on it. Mm-hmm. And the contractor friend says, yeah, that'll cost about $1 million. Cool. We're going to pass a bill that says it's $4 million, and you and I are going to split the other $3 million.
Wow. Yeah. That's why they're all rich.
That's how it works.
Yeah. That's why
those are backdoor deals, and that's why that report we used to see in the 90s about a toilet seat costing $20K, mm-hmm. And we're like, how the hell does a toilet seat cost $20,000?
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't. The toilet seat costs $200.
Yeah.
And the backroom deal, the other person gets
pork belly,
$19,800.
Pork belly, just giving your buddies all of this extra money, man.
Well, it's not just your buddies; you're splitting it.
Yeah.
So here's what happens. So that $4 million goes to that contractor, and then the congressman gets the extra split to that $1.5 million.
They can split the split.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of double standards, man, what's the guy with the cryptocurrency that just got in trouble?
Oh, Sam, SBF.
Yeah.
Sam Bankman-Fried or something like that.
People don't realize what's going on with that. If you really just think about it, he's not going to go to jail. If he goes to jail, he's going to get a sweetheart deal. You already see he got out on bail pretty much on a signature
bond. In all likelihood, he's going to be suicided, quote unquote.
No. If you really look at it, the double standard. If he was a Republican, I don't know even if he was a Republican, but you got to realize what went on with that. Cryptocurrency, they could not...
Well, you don't regulate. It's not regulated.
It was unregulated. So what does the government want to do? Regulate it. They have to find a way to get in to regulate that money. You got this guy taking all his money, giving it to all the politicians for one.
Well, hold on. Democrat politicians.
And was there a couple, maybe 3 or 4.
Either way, he was the second largest donor on the Democrat side in the last election.
So he's the fall guy, but he's actually the hero. The only way to break into the cryptocurrency to be able to regulate it, you have to find someone that's willing to destroy the cryptocurrency. So he stole that money on purpose. So now when they came down on him, they're saying, see, that's why it should be regulated. So he was their ticket in. So he was just basically the fall guy to say, okay, I ruined cryptocurrency for you guys. I got all of this money. You're going to slap me on the wrist. If that was a Republican or anybody else, he'd be looking at Bernie Murdoch time. Madoff's time. He'd be looking at that type of time. He got out on a signature bond.
I'm not sure I agree with that. I think they want to control crypto as a whole.
That's what I'm saying.
But saying create their own fiat.
they want to destroy cryptocurrency right now, though.
So that they can have their own.
Yeah, or go in and regulate whatever's going on, because it's money that's untaxed. You know, that's like...
Well, currently, and that's why a lot of that money in the back room came through Ukraine, was through FTX.
I look at stuff from a street level, because I'm a street guy. You know, if you're in a neighborhood, right, and these guys came on your butt, and you're used to taxing everybody in the neighborhood, you know, whoever's selling whatever, you get a cut of it, right? You get your money off the top, and then these other guys come in. Yeah, and these other guys come in and they set up shop, and they tell you, no, we're not going to give you a cut. You know, just think about what them street dudes going to say. Oh, yeah, we're going to come in and strong arm. You're going to give us our cut. And that's what's going on with the government. We're going to, just like marijuana and everything else. Oh, it's okay now. But before, we were going to strong arm, we're going to send you to jail, we're going to confiscate all your stuff, we're going to get out some way, somehow. Oh, now we can regulate, you're going to pay your taxes? It's bully ball.
Correct. Yeah. So I think we're partially saying the same thing. I think it's a bigger game, though. So I think it's that they actually control it, tax it, regulate it, but they have their own. And what I'm saying is this is because if we have no cash anymore, right? Yeah. And we're all on, call a U.S. government Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're all on that. Mm-hmm. They can shut our bank accounts down.
Right.
They can control us. That's why they want us on electric cars. That's why
You're looking at the big picture.
I'm looking at it all. Yeah. They want to control us in every different way. They want to shut down. They want us on the grid entirely.
Like China.
So like China. So they can shut down our electricity. They can shut down our bank accounts if we say or step out of line in any different way. Mm-hmm. And that's the big picture I don't think a lot of liberals see, is this is a much bigger game, and they're trying to lead us down a path, and y'all are participating in it, that they want to control every step that we make.
It doesn't hurt until it hurts you. You know.
Correct, and that's the dangerous game, because let's say it's not the party. Like again, let's say they turn on you, and all of a sudden, backwards is forwards, and green is yellow, and all that, and now you're the target.
Yeah.
And now it affects you. So that's what I'm saying is like, your independent friends or your Republican friends that are fighting against this, like they're actually fighting for you.
Oh,
they're fighting for all of us to like.
Those poor carjackers, they need to have a break until they come and start,
taking your stuff.
Oh, those poor immigrants until they go to Cape Cod and stuff like that. It's a different story until it affects you. Look at thank God for the Republicans winning back what they win, the Senate,
the House.
Yeah. Thank God they won the House. All these little people, all these little liberals and the little bartenders and the waitresses. When that IRS started regulating your little tip money. All these IRS agents were hired to come and find that type of money, the small money, anything over $500. That would have really made a lot of people mad. You make some extra tips, and now you got to pay on taxes on your tips and stuff like that. All the hairdressers and all the people who worked at the barbershop. It sounds good until it comes back and hurts you. So
for sure. Well, we got to wrap up here. Hey, one random thought that I thought was super funny during all those 15 votes from McCarthy to be the Speaker of the House. A lot of people don't know this. My wife was a poli-sci major, and so I didn't know this. And she was telling me, hey, do you know that you don't actually have to be in the House to be voted Speaker of the House? And I was like, what are you saying? Back. So that's what I said, what are you saying? She goes, wouldn't it be hilarious if Trump... If all of them just said, you know what, we're going this way, and put Trump as Speaker of the House,
the media would have lost their mind.
So like, again, I'm not saying that would have been good or bad. I think it would have been hilarious.
The media would have went crazy.
So many people would have lost their dang minds. I would have sat back and like just. Him
as Speaker of the House would have been like him being president again, because his image and his presence is like way bigger than Joe Biden. He would have overshadowed Joe Biden. People would have
lost their damn minds, and that's where I think it would have been hilarious.
Yeah, it would.
So, I was one of those people that did not know that. My lovely wife, educated me on that with her poli-sci major education.
I knew Matt Gaetz wanted to nominate Trump. To be Speaker,
yeah. So anyhow, that was a random thought, but it was kind of funny to think about for a minute. Yeah. Obviously, that didn't happen, and the swamp rat McCarthy is in. But hopefully, the deals negotiated with those 20 continue to help preserve our democracy, our constitutional republic, I should say.
Yeah, and everybody out there that's watching, man, you just got to be fair and balanced. Do some soul searching, look into your heart, and just, you know, be fair and balanced. Don't be a political racist or just be fair.
Yeah.
You know.
And I would say again, so that's a great point on the first point. On the second point of cancel culture, here's my take on that quick. If we cancel everyone that makes a mistake, there's zero room for forgiveness.
It's going to come back and haunt you.
Well, not only is it, yes, karma does. Karma's real. Yes, it will come back to haunt you, but my man E right here is a good proof, living proof of being redeemed. I just had Damon West on the podcast, who's changing the world with his coffee bean story right now, and he was serving a life sentence and was able to get out in just over 7 years, and is still going to be on parole for 50 more years.
Wow.
And he's got check-in. He's got anytime he's doing a speaking engagement, leave the state. And this man is a tremendous individual. Mm-hmm. So again, if we're going to cancel everyone that made a mistake, not only would all of us be canceled because none of us are perfect, it just removes forgiveness. It removes learning. It removes growth from individuals. Mm-hmm. Cancel culture on any side that you look at it is not a good thing.
Yeah, that's so true.
So we'll leave you with that, with leadership, continuing to hope and pray for our country, continue to look inside your souls to make sure that you kind of weed out some of this identity that we've been kind of forced upon us to pick a side. Because again, at the end of the day, we're all a human race, not a Republican, not a Democrat. We're humans. And with that, remember, the good and great are the enemies of possible.
One more thing. It's okay to disagree, but it's a problem when you disown.
Yeah.
It's real.
Hey, that was a good line, E.
Yeah.
That is a very, very true. Lead like a Spartan today.